Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all the members of our Jury and Justice group. I'm Advocate Niyati Mankar, your host for today, and proud member of this group comprising of distinguished advocates of our fraternity. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Shruti Desai for taking up the initiative of forming this group and for conducting various get-togethers, including this webinar. The members of this group have been the most active in sharing all the latest updates pertaining to legal, political, and socio-economic issues on regular basis, and I'm extremely grateful to all of you for the same. Friends, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code came into force in December 2016, and the first case under IBC was referred to NCLT in January 2017. The IBC received praises from multilateral institutions like the World Bank and the IMF and was considered one of the major reasons of India's sudden jump in the ease of doing business rankings. According to data released by IBBI, bankers have so far taken a haircut of 60% in total in all the cases that have been resolved through the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code as of 31st March 2021. This is the fifth year of IBC, and despite all the amendments and path breaking judgments by different courts to settle contentious issues, delays, and low recovery continues to mar the overall IBC regime. The average time taken to resolve the cases is 459 days, which is much more than the stipulated 330 days. Though one positive of IBC is the fear of losing control of the company, which forces many promoters to resolve their issues with creditors even before the admission of the case into NCLT. This issue of haircut and the role of NCLT under the IBC will be discussed in today's webinar by our eminent speaker, Mr. Jaideep Mehta, Advocate. I will briefly introduce Mr. Jaideep Mehta before he proceeds with our today's webinar. Mr. Jaideep Mehta is a commerce graduate from Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan College, University of Mumbai, and a law graduate from KC Law College, University of Mumbai, with specialization in IPR and banking laws. He is also possessing master's degree in law with business and corporate laws group from Sardar Patel University. He has also passed company secretary intermediate examination from ICSI. He was also holding certificate of DP operations module of NSE and a corporate registry module of NISM and was a designated trainer for DP operations module. He is an advocate on record registered with the Bombay High Court as well as Gujarat High Court and practices mainly in corporate and commercial laws, securities law and insolvency law and FEMA. He appears before High Court, NCLT, DRTs, DRAT, Mumbai District Courts and consumer forums. He's contributed articles and posts on legal issues on LinkedIn portal in regularly and connected to more than 21,000 professionals on LinkedIn. He is a dynamic professional with extensive experience of 28 years in legal and secretarial profession, share registry operations, corporate and general corporate affairs, having expertise in the areas of corporate legislation, legal compliance, and other legal matters, including DRTs, property matters, corporate and commercial laws. He is also Quail Independent Director registered with Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, MCA. He has now diversified into other practice areas of law, which includes mainly insolvency law, securities law, property laws, and Foreign Exchange Management Act, apart from his existing areas of practice in corporate legislations, security laws, and commercial laws. In addition to his existing law practice, he is also assisting other senior advocates in all banking matters, including carrying out legal audit for various nationalized banks, carrying out search and preparing search reports for various banks, appearing in district court at Baroda, DRTs, preparing legal opinions for banks, preparing mortgage documents, etc. He is a member of the Institute of Directors Mumbai and also Chamber of Tax Consultants Mumbai. With that, I now call upon Mr. Jaideep Mehta to proceed with our today's webinar.
Thank you, Niyati, for giving a wonderful introduction. And I also thank Shruti Madam and jury, all the members of jury and justice for taking this initiative of organizing a knowledge series. So can we start with PPT?
Yes.
Full screen is okay. So let me start with the introduction of IBC. As when the IBC was introduced when the IBC bill was introduced in 2016, the IBC consolidated and amended the various laws relating to insolvency of resolution of companies, partnership firms, LLPs, and individuals, which were contained in various legislations and into a single legislation. And as Niyati just narrated that IBC received praises even for from World Bank and IMF, and it is considered as one of the major reasons for India's sudden jump in the ease of doing business. And when the India's rank jumped from 115 to 75 last year, IBC was considered as one of the major uh, reasons. Next slide, please. Next slide. Niyati, next slide, please. Hello. Can we move to next slide? Hello. Next, can we move to next slide? Niyati.
I've changed this one.
Okay. Now, yes, correct, correct.
Niyati, the second
Correct,
one.
correct, yes, yes. So, let's see what is the purpose of, hello.
Preamble. Preamble.
Am I audible?
Okay, preamble.
The code IBC has just completed 5 years. And the professional circles, we all are discussing whether the IBC is able to achieve this purpose during its 5 years journey. Next slide, please. We will discuss in the coming slides about this, the purpose of IBC. These are the terminologies used in my PPT. So I think there is no need to discuss on this. Next, next. Hello. So in this particular today's topic, so we will be discussing whether the deep haircut taken by financial creditor defeat the primary purpose of IBC. Second, whether the substantial power is given to financial creditors vis-a-vis others stakeholders. Number 3, whether option available to unscrupulous promoters to take over the company through related party. And lastly, whether the code repose unquestioning faith on the ability of resolution professionals. Next. So we will be discussing on these 4 topics today. So just to apprise our learned members, though everybody is maybe aware, so still let us go through the procedure of IBC in brief. So who can initiate corporate insolvency resolution process? So there are 3 categories of people who can initiate CIRP. One is financial creditor, another is operational creditors. Operational creditors are those who have supplied goods and services to the corporate debtor. And third category is corporate debtor itself. And as far as judiciary is concerned, the first is National Company Law Tribunal, whose orders are applicable to National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, and NCLT order is applicable to the Supreme Court. So it now, after the last lockdown, when this earlier the threshold limit was 1 lakh. That means if the default by the corporate debtor is 1 lakh and above, the operational creditor and the financial creditor can approach NCLT. So now that limit has been increased to 1 crore. It was amended last March 2020. So there are designated intermediaries are Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBI, Information Utility, Insolvency Professional Agencies, and Insolvency Professionals. These are the 4 other categories who are involved in the entire process. Next, financial creditors. There is no need to tell who are financial creditors. They are the people, any person to whom the financial debt is owed, and includes a person to whom. Okay, fine. I think, yeah, please carry on. Yeah. Next. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Because I want to take it to the main core topic of today's discussion. Next. Niyati, next slide, please. Am I audible properly?
Yes. This slide you want me to keep?
No, next this slide I don't need to discuss on this. So let us go to the main topic of today. Next. This is the process. I mean, this today. I think this. I don't think it is required to any. It is required to be discussed. This is the process for making applications NCLT, and I don't think it is required in today's discussion.
This slide on haircut is a
Yes.
option.
Jaideep, you're not audible.
Sir has
You're on mute.
I am unmute. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
If you're again unmute, mute
No, I
yourself.
think
Yeah. There's some
I am not I am not doing anything. I think host is changing the options. So is it okay now?
now it's okay.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You have to repeat what you were saying minute back.
Okay. So let us discuss about haircut. And is it the only option available to financial creditors and operational creditors? So what exactly is haircut? Everybody is talking about, all professionals are talking about haircut. So what exactly it is and why do we call it as haircut? So haircut in the financial terms means a reduction in the value of an asset. And this in relation to IBC obviously means that the lenders or creditors have to bear the brunt in such situations. So according to me, haircut means a reduction in the value of the asset and the amount recoverable by financial creditor and operational creditors. And I personally feel that uh, financial creditors as well as operational creditors are forced, rather they are forced to accept the resolution applicant's proposal. And uh, that is the reason it is called a haircut. So in simple terms, if I tell you that something is better than nothing, that is what I call it. And haircut, according to my personal opinion, is it is a preferred option over taking. Next slide, please. Next slide. So now let us look at the top companies with the highest haircut in CIRP. So let us see the in the list. See the first company, Zion Steel Limited. The total claims of financial creditors was about 5,367 crore, and which was settled in just 15 crore rupees. And you can see the haircut by financial creditor, 99.72%. So effectively, the financial creditors, including and operational creditors, they received only 0.28% of the total outstanding claims. Very surprising. Second in the list, let us see the second company, Synergies Dure Automotive Limited. In fact, this company was the first company which was taken into, which was successfully completed by NCLT as far as corporate insolvency resolution is concerned. And that was somewhere in August 2017. The total claim of financial creditor in this particular company was 972 crore and was settled by creditors for a very low amount of 54.69 crore, resulting into haircut of 94.37%. Third company you can see on the screen, Orissa Manganese and Minerals Limited. Total claim of financial creditors 5,388 crore was settled for just 310 crore, resulting into haircut of 94.25%. Sri Metallic Limited, again 1,287 crore, settled for just 677 crore with a haircut of 92.82%. Adunik Metals Limited, haircut of 92.37%. Datre Corporation Limited, haircut of 89.14 crore. Rajpur Hydropower Private Limited, haircut of 87.44 crore. Basai Steels and Power Private Limited, haircut of 85.26%. Manor Roted Limited, haircut of 82.59 crore. SMM Steel, haircut of 96.14 crores. You can just observe that in this company, 41 crore of claims of financial creditors was settled in just 1.60 crore. Next slide, please. So this is just to give you an idea of how much is the haircut. So look at this figure. It is updated as on 31st of March 2021. When the companies which were admitted by NCLT in various NCLTs in the entire corporate insolvency resolution process, which went into liquidation, the total amount recoverable by the various creditors, including operational creditor, you can see the figure 4,67,449 crore rupees was the amount recoverable financial creditors and operational creditors, and these companies when they when they were taken into liquidation, and the value, see the value which is realized, actual value which was realized after liquidation, after these companies were taken into liquidation, and see the value which was actually realized 21,240 crore against 4,67,449 crore. In the second case, when the companies which were actually went into corporate insolvency resolution process, CIRP, the actual amount recoverable by various creditors, the figure shows it is 3,51,528 crore, and which were actually settled in 1,51,664 crore. So if we take a total of liquidated value and CIRP value, total debt of financial creditor and operational creditors, the total actually which the creditor should have received is 8,18,977 crore, and which was settled in 1,72,904 crore. So on an average, the haircut is about 65 to 68%. Next slide, please. So let us now discuss the ongoing high-profile CIRP, which is still pending in NCLT and which is still going on. Videocon Industries Limited, the case is still going on in NCLT. The financial creditors, they put a total claim of around 71 crore 433 crore rupees. And finally, when the committee of creditor was formed, they admitted the claim of creditors for rupees 64,000 838.63 crores. And see the beauty of this, when the resolution plan of Vedanta Group, there is a company of Vedanta Group, Twin Star Technology Private Limited, when they put up a resolution plan, it was approved by financial creditor, and see the value of the resolution plan, which the Vedanta Group has put up a proposal for only rupees 2,962 crore against the total claim by creditors of 71,433 crore, which results into a haircut of 96%, and they are going to get only 4.15% of the total claim of 71,433 crore. And further, let me tell you that operational creditors are going to get only 0.72% of their total claims, resulting into 99.28% haircut. So it is very surprising that this much of huge debts of 71,000 crore are going to settle in just 2,962 crore, 96% haircut, and case is still going on, and this plan is approved by COC. Next slide, please. Another very interesting case of DHFL. DHFL has gone bankrupt with more than 90,000 crore in debt to various lenders, including banks, mutual funds, and individual investors who kept fixed at their FDs with the company. As you all learned friends must have read in various newspapers and articles also, that Piramal Group has offered 37,250 crore in their resolution plan to the creditors of DHFL, and this includes 12,700 crore in upfront cash, 3,000 crore in interest income on DHFL's books, and non-convertible debentures worth 19,550 crore to be repaid over the next 10 years. And the existing promoter of DHFL, there is a further twist into this particular case. The existing promoters, Mr. Vadwan Groups, they are going to challenge, rather I think they have challenged this resolution plan of Piramal Group into with NCLT. Now I'm personally very much surprised that once the resolution plan is approved by the committee of creditors and they are prepared to accept this offer, what is the need for challenging this resolution plan before NCLT by the existing promoters of DHFL? And if they are prepared to, they say that they are prepared to pay the amount to the creditors, then why at this stage? There is a big question mark. This is my personal question. I would like personally to deliberate in this forum, that why the existing promoters of DHFL want to repay. They have shown their willingness to repay at this stage when the resolution plan has already been approved by COC, and why they were not willing to repay before the resolution plan was put up by the Piramal Group and other applicants, resolution applicants. Next. So if we talk about the overall picture for claims amounting to 8.19 lakh crore, creditors have got the maximum value of 1.73 lakh crore, resulting into haircut of 6.46 lakh crore in terms of rupees. This taken into account of all the 970 cases which have been closed by NCLT so far. And there are another approximately 1,960 cases which are still pending under IBC process, which are still pending in various NCLTs across India. And let me tell you about, as far as if we talk about the liquidation of various companies, this is going to result into job loss, or also an estimation of job loss due to liquidation cases. If we talk about job loss, and according to the data available on various medias and press reports, the job loss due to liquidation of various companies under IBC process maybe is estimated around 10 lakh employees. So you can just uh, imagine that due to liquidation of the companies under the NCLT process, the total job loss is estimated about 10 lakh company employees. So this is going to be another big question mark. So what will be the future of these employees who are going to lose the job, and some of them have already lost rather. Next. So what are the findings according to me? And the realization value of the financial creditors in most of the cases is more than the liquidation value of the company which are under, which have gone under CIRP. So what I personally feel that if the company has opted for liquidation, then the liquidated value could have been less than the value which the financial creditors have realized under the CIRP. Till date, the average haircut taken by various financial creditors is around 54%, with highest being 99% as we discussed in case of Videocon. In respect of 275 corporates, the process is stretched beyond even the mandated period of 330 days, and some of them are still undergoing, even some of them have crossed even 18 months, according to me. So by insertion of 29A, section 29A, which was amended very recently, in IBC, the attempt by co-promoters to take over the company have been nullified. So in the before this amendment, some of the promoters even tried to re-enter the take over their own company through related party transactions, which is now nullified. The code being designated primarily for recovery of debt due to financial creditor, so definitely financial creditor will have a say in the entire process of corporate insolvency resolution process. Next. Next slide. So what is the way forward? The haircut taken by the financial creditors are to be analyzed taking into consideration the enterprise value of the corporate debtor rather than looking at from the financial creditor point of view. Second problem according to me is about the resolution professionals. See, majority of the resolution professionals are either chartered accountants, lawyers, company secretaries, and graduates having 15 years and more experience. So, and they do not have the technical knowledge. And when the companies are admitted by NCLT, and when the RPs are taking over the affairs of the company, they lack the total experience as far as the technical aspects are concerned. So according to, I personally feel that resolution professionals lack experience in managing the affairs of the company, because they are the managing director of the company after the companies are admitted into insolvency process. Next. So there is another question by which was posed by Madam. Uh, so in the entire process, whether the criminal action should be taken by uh, the agencies like EDs and CBIs and other agencies like serious fraud investigation agencies, because the promoters think so much of huge funds have been borrowed by the creditors or by the corporate debtors. And the big question is where the funds have gone, whether either the funds have been diverted. There are very genuine cases where the corporate debtors have actually suffered losses. But there are many cases where the corporate promoters of corporate debtors have either siphoned off the funds, they have diverted the funds to some other activities. So whether the criminal action should be taken initiated against such promoters. And there are cases also where the criminal action have also been initiated by EDs and CBIs and SFIO. That is what I feel. And we can also now start a brainstorming session about, say, as far as haircut is concerned and criminal actions are concerned against the promoter. So I'll be happy to interact with our learned members. So it is going to be a very big issue as far as haircut is concerned, because ultimately it is the innocent uh, depositors' money which the banks are losing and financial institutions are losing. 1 minute, I think.
The floor is now open for question and answer questions if anyone has any. Sir, we have one question from Ms. Renu. You mentioned about job losses. In that case, are there any provisions for the protection of employees and laborers?
No, no, there is no such provision. It is a loss to the employees.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Even brainstorming, I will welcome brainstorming on this.
Jaideep bhai, I just wanted to know what is the transparency about this creditors report about the haircut? There is nothing. I find it's a very strange way of operation. Somebody offers some amount, is accepted as an haircut, goes up to 96% to 95%.
Haircut.
Yes. What is the transparency? There is no transparency in IBC.
No, but if suppose let us take the example of Videocon, there is only one resolution applicant, Vedanta.
That's right. I agree with you. And what take example of SR? SR is 105%
Yes, yes,
increase when the Mittal has taken over this company.
correct, right.
And that point of time also SR was playing a very unscrupulously, saying this is not that much high, they must be given as a lesser price. So I suspect there is something is going on. I mean, suspicion in the sense that there is no transparency
There is no,
about the valuation and considering the haircut.
there is no transparency. I agree
So
with
if there is no transparency, will not be amount to a committing and a fraud, one, will not attract any criminal investigation in this case. Now, who is the person deciding this haircut? Let us take an example. Either NCLT, the judges, or the committee. Who has to say finally give the final say? The NCLT.
NCLT, but committee of creditors, we are the.
That's right. At the instance of a committee, the orders are passed.
Correct.
What is their credential to suggest that you reduce to 94% haircut?
No,
There is nothing.
There is nothing, but
There is no provision in the law. Like in a company cases, when you go for a liquidation, 434.
I agree with you, sir. But when say Vedanta, when they submitted its resolution plan, so it is open to committee of creditors and it is presented to NCLT also.
If that is the case, then why not in Vadhva's case?
Why not in Vadhva's case? I agree with you, but
When Vadhva is agreed to give the full amount.
But why at this stage? Then why?
No. Stage is not an important. When you are recovering the full amount of money, are you going to do the charity for this?
And then if they are prepared to pay the full amount, they could have paid to financial creditors earlier.
Maybe they must be realizing now, subsequent to the step, but that does not stop them paying money. Ultimately, the money matters.
Now that is
in NCLT.
They are challenging the resolution plan approved by COC before.
That's a different issue. That I'm on the point of that somebody is offering their money, the full amount.
Right.
What is the reason for NCLT not accepting even after the resolutions are passed, or say the committee's report is accepted?
No, but
for a haircut.
My question is, when the company was taken to NCLT by a financial creditor, resolution plan was invited, resolution plan is submitted, it is approved, and then the existing promoters are coming into picture that we are willing to repay the full amount.
Will not that amount to the reassessment of the committee's report?
Yes.
Jaideep, Can I, on this conversation, I have two more questions. If you can clarify, how is the valuation done? And is there, what about the related party contracts? You know, are the promoters coming in again later at a later stage only because there are related party contracts and they want to reconsider, or and this haircut, how do they value it? If you can throw some light on that also.
Assets are valued by the registered valuers. They are the registered valuers under IBBI, and two registered valuers are giving their reports. So there is no, sorry spelling. So there is a transparency as far as valuation is concerned, because it is taken from two different registered valuers.
No, but then, you know, we need to understand when we are talking of like haircuts of more than 85% by and large, if the, what is the valuation given and what is the valuation offered, you know, I mean, what is the kind of discrepancies are we talking about there? And that is indirectly raising the same point which Paresh Bhai raised about transparency.
It's a financial jargon, so I mean, if anybody is here with financial background can throw much more light on this.
No, there is another issue also. Why there is no reserve bid?
There is
Like in our company cases 434, when we were doing the auctions by
Yes, absolutely.
there is always a reserve bid. Why not a reserve bid in this kind of a circumstance? Is there any something is going under the table? We don't understand this kind of an operation. It's very suspicious.
reserve bid means there should be a minimum,
Reserve bid, you fix a reserve bid.
yes, minimum value this much.
Absolutely. And have open bidding, like what we were doing earlier in the High Court.
That's a Paresh, well,
Yeah.
exactly when we were going for commissioner for taking accounts, we had to give reserve bids and then they would be opened and the auctions would follow. There was an entire
Absolutely.
process which would go through several departments and then would be finalized.
Absolutely. And there is a backing of another law, not like in NCLT, there is no backing of any other law.
So in that case,
They are doing it their own mind. Whatever comes in their mind, they are doing it.
so
But
in
what
that
are
case-
the powers of NCLT in granting haircut? What are the powers under IBC?
No,
Because-
NCLT has no say in as far as haircut is concerned, because it is ultimately the entire power rests with the committee of creditors.
That exactly, committee is not, they are not responsible to anybody. They can decide any kind of the haircut.
When COC is accepting the resolution plan, NCLT cannot raise a question that why did you accept with such haircut?
That's one point. And second point, whoever are the credit debtors and creditors have no say what the report has come.
And
I can't go and object. You can't tell me, no, you accept at one paisa or 2 paisa. Why should I accept 2 paisa? You tell me now. There is no say on a haircut.
so in-
Now, is there above the law? The serious question arises, is this committee are above law, everybody?
That is true.
Yes,
But
it
in
appears.
case of Videocon, NCLT, at least they have requested to raise the figure.
That's a mercy. That's a basically mercy.
It's a mercy. It is a mercy. Yes,
Absolutely, there is no say, no backing of a law.
but as you say, if minimum amount, say reserve price is fixed up by. Say,
No, I am saying that is in addition, but I am saying what is the responsibility and liability of a committee who is suggesting and offering an haircut? Are they not liable for anything under the law? I can't go and tell somebody, no, you accept only 1 paisa out of 1 rupee.
No, then in that case, it is the creditors who have to take a call.
I agree, but the major creditor,
Major creditor, yes.
the low, no, unlike in 434, everyone has been called to the court,
Yes, yes.
filed their affidavit, everything, nothing of that procedure. That means there is no transparency at all. If suppose I know the valuer, I am putting other way. I know the valuer, I know the people very well. I will make sure that this valuation comes down to a level where I can afford.
So there are many cases have also happened where the RP's resolution professionals have been penalized.
Unitech, you take Unitech, 5 times the RP has gone to the Supreme Court, exercising, the Supreme Court has to say that you increase the value for the real estate, and then about 1,000 people have gone to the Supreme Court, flat buyers.
That buyers, yes.
How many times the matter has gone to Supreme Court? Till today, nobody is considering about those bringing the amendment of that nature, nothing.
Nothing.
Take the JP Infra. The same situation is happening now, pending in Supreme Court.
Many cases. Yes.
Then this another Delhi real estate company, also the same situation.
Real estate company, nobody will be interested unless
No,
unless
I am saying the haircut of the real estate company, it is just unacceptable or unbelievable. You can't imagine the level of that the haircut is given.
So what is the remedy? What is the suggestion which we should raise? Where the amendment is required?
Investigation is a must. On a haircut report is coming to the NCLT. NCLT must examine the pros and cons of this. They can't just brush aside everything because NCLT is appointed and then you accept the report. Means what?
Again and again,
They become like a puppet, the judges.
Again and again, I'm giving the example of Videocon. Suppose if the resolution plan is rejected, even out of 71,000 crore, 3,000 plan is rejected, then the only option available to creditors is to take the company into liquidation, where the company will not get even 1,000 crore.
No, this is kind of a threat on the people. This is blackmailing somebody.
Blackmailing, you can say. You use the. I did not use that word, but you used it.
But consider other aspect. In last 5 years, I must have come across about 30-40 instances where haircuts has happened. Correct? Barring 2 or 3 examples, like a Vijay Mallya or other companies, not a single company has gone for an investigation by ED or any SFO, serious financial fraud.
No, so
correct? Why it is not happening? Why NCLT not asking that do the investigation? Why the haircut is accepted, but do the money laundering, do the other criminal aspect what they have committed?
NCLT is only a forum for insolvency resolution. They cannot.
That's a point. That's a lacuna in the law.
Yes.
That they should have been given power for an investigation. You accept haircut, I have no issue. Like in our the Company Act also, the provisions are there in the High Court.
So that creditors can always take that action. They can always file a complaint, lodge a complaint.
The issue is creditor. Who the creditor? Creditors are large number banks.
So
now they are all hand in glove. People like you and me. Suppose I have supplied something to the company about a few lakhs rupees. I can't afford to go for this kind of a litigation.
But they can form a consortium and lead lenders.
These are all very difficult. No. Jyotiba, it is very difficult to form a consortium or a committee of a small creditors.
In many cases, they have already gone to ED and CBI.
Very handful. But
in other cases also they can do that. Why they are not going then?
No, I mean, what my point is, there must be a backing of a law. Law has to be amended to that level.
Law should be amended.
To considering the present scenario, the way in which people are behaving. Today I can borrow 1 lakh crore rupees from the bank, and tomorrow, and then the next day I'll go and pay the 5,000, 2,000 crore rupees. Finish.
That is what
I will enjoy, because I have done money laundering. Who is going to investigate? They have been let off. I would say, in a very clear term, they have been let off.
Yes, they are being.
Now Videocon is totally let off. 7 except ICICI fraud has come. Nothing else. No IBC. You take JP Infra, let off. ICICI again the lender, let off. Unitech again ICICI. All our promoters are let off, barring the other investigation is going on about this small thing. Correct? You take all these big lenders. Reliance has taken over another. In that also they have been let off. SR has been let off.
I agree, but that is the reason why recently, yesterday.
No, therefore I am saying I am on the issue that there has to be amendment. The law has to be amended to the level of that people should not be encouraged for doing this kind of a fraud.
No, but in that case, I will go to one step further, that even Indian Bank Association can also take action.
They are not. That's exactly the point. Indian Bank Association has to move.
They have to move. Yes.
Finance Ministry must take cognizance of this kind of things happening.
Because ultimately it is depositors' money.
Absolutely.
It is right. It is our money.
And in case of PMC, again this real estate company has taken huge 6,000 crore. Many depositors have committed suicide also.
Correct.
So, but
Now you take the another Anil Ambani's company. 3 years back, he has 4 years back, he came out with the 10,000 crore rupees IPO, Reliance Energy.
Reliance Power, yes.
Down the 4 line, he has gone into bankruptcy. It can be possible.
Not possible. It is very
So
surprising.
this gives a signal to everyone: commit a fraud, go to IBC and get been let off.
So it is a route to committing white collar crime.
Yes, absolutely, white collar crime. This crime is permissible under the law.
Under the law. Then either as a professional institute should come forward and take it to the.
Yeah, that's a surprising me. No, not single institution is coming forward like this. IBA is not coming. The ministry is not doing. Company affairs ministry is not considering all this. It's a very bad situation.
Can professional institute like ICAI, ICSI, ICWAI can come together and take it to the PMO?
I consider this, and this IBC is nothing but a fraud on the people. IBC is not made for the recovery of the money. IBC is made for the, losing the money of the people. Give me one example, barring SR last 5 years.
Correct.
Give me one example where the people have recovered about 90% amount. Here it is other way going.
Other way. It is other way around. Yes.
So IBC is not successful. It's most disaster code of law. It's the most disaster code of law giving license to fraud.
Giving license to fraud. I support your views.
Yeah, very much conveniently.
No, that is the preamble says it is an act to promote entrepreneurship to maximize the value of assets. But where is the maximization?
Maximizing, they are maximizing in devaluation.
That is true.
So, what is the suggestion? Which part of Act we should suggest to amend?
So first and foremost, as Jaideep Bhai said also, and I am also of agreement with him, that committee reports for haircut has to be very transparent, and there has to be some mechanism to be formed. You can't have it in this manner. They are considering their own personal assets. It can't be. It's a public money. I would say.
Like NEFRA has been constituted.
Correct. Absolutely. Correct.
Similar kind of institution, new body can be created to oversee the proceedings of IBC.
Correct.
Though NCLT has wide powers, NCLT can definitely use its power because it is the powers which were vested in High Court have now been vested in NCLT.
But NCLT has become like a lame duck.
High Court was better. If liquidator is appointed, entire account is taken into consideration. You may not get money, but at least it was much better. And threat of, if you file winding up a petition before the High Court, money would come. Here there is an haircut.
Yes, you are right. After filing winding up, when winding up orders are passed, directors required to file a statement of affairs. And if they found there is some irregularity, prosecutions are launched by liquidator.
Even in my experience also of winding up, and because there's a question also on chat box, I think practically what used to happen is a lot of payment would, the settlements would happen, and at least a majority of the original amounts due, or at least there would be some, something at the end of the tunnel. Here with 90%, I think you're wiping off your entire capital only in that sense, when you are doing a and I think there should be a limit of the threshold, say 30%, 40%, beyond which the haircut should not be permitted in any reports.
No, in that case, what will happen? There will not be any resolution applicant, and nobody will show interest.
No, Renuben says that total capital is wiped out. It's a very interesting point. Capital is wiped off prior to IBC. When the company does not go for before IBC, amount is lended in lakhs and crores of rupees. Moment it goes into IBC, capital wipes out. I don't understand this valuation at all. It's a very serious consideration required. Before IBC company goes, in the market, collects lakhs of rupees and thousands crores of rupees. Moment IBC becomes zero. So she is right. Capital is wiped out. It's all managed on the books.
But it is certified by statutory auditors.
And
No,
that-
but that is where we
is-
need to, Shrutiben has to work and come up with amendments, suggested amendments and send it to PVMO.
Niyati can
Help,
through like
yes,
being a chartered accountant.
definitely, Niyati will help.
We have some
Uh,
suggestions from Mr. Dikshit Mehra. Should I read it out, or Mr. Mehra, would you like to share it personally on?
No, his question is why to blame haircut? Why not to blame?
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
So, my question here is, I was noting all the, what was being transpired and what has been suggested. But I would only strongly agree, and I would agree with you that yes, haircut is a problem. I don't think we all should shy away from that aspect. But I think we are not even considering this one aspect, which is we are reaching the haircut situation if the haircut situation is coming after the company goes into IBC. Let's go a little behind and say that where the banks are held responsible for this. It is, if you see, and why I stressed on the point on Anuj Jain's judgment, where actually the Supreme Court has actually got into this issue. And they have said that, see, when the banks are giving, there is no due diligence happening from that aspect. So there is nothing which is transpired from there. We are giving crores and crores. We give it at the upfront. Now, I'm not getting into the reasons for what has happened or everything on the platform, or whatever must have happened. But the question is, if that is wisdom in commercial, when I say that if that is commercial wisdom, then in this case, even this is considered to be a commercial wisdom of taking the haircut. So let's go back in hindsight and first see that why are we giving so much amounts to so many amount. Let's take a simple examples of Videocon. Let's say all the examples which have gone. A company today, and where I'm also arguing on the point is on the feasibility and viability. And there is a beautiful paras which is there in the SR's NCLAT order, which they say what is viability and what is feasibility. So let's look at that feasibility and viability today. For whatever worth, Mr. Dhoot could not run his business as it could be. He thought that it is a far-fetched thought. Having today, even if I have to compare a Videocon TV to a Samsung TV, I think none of us here on the panel will ever agree that nobody would want to take a Videocon TV. It was a simple reason he could not match up to what it was. Let it be LG, let it be Samsung. So yes, there is a turnaround from Vedanta, and there will be a situation where there is a possibility that he will create more opportunities where the company is actually growing, until to say yes, 2,000 crore, dump it. You're not going to get anything. There is no asset. As we all are aware, there is no major asset. Company will run. There is a possibility that once the company runs, it is going to generate more business. Unlike your winding up days, as I gave an example, I'm doing a particular good company which is 10 years down. I have not got a single creditor. I myself was also advising one of the other creditors, and we have not got anything. Not a single penny has got out. There's only one asset which was sold distressed, a flat, which was a 3 or 4 BHK flat, which was sold at a distressed value at a very decent location for 2 crores. Now for a 300, 500, 800 crore, which has gone into doldrums, we are only talking about this one asset. Rest everything is wiped out. And because in this 10 years, the company was not running, so the machines have lost its job. There is the employees which have gone for a toss. So where are we looking at? Where are we looking at the money being actually been given? At least the sense of IBC is that it will carry on to it. Again, I'm not suggesting that there are many loopholes. There are many things which will require or understanding or a change. But I think somewhere this aspect of haircut, I think it has to go back to from where let's commence, where we exactly give those loans at first place. If that mechanism has to be very clear cut. I mean, today, if a normal person would go and take in, we are required to give thousands of documents. It is a very simple way to take it from a particular corporate, just because there is inflation, there is valuations, everything is mixed and matched. But as a normal home buyer wants to go and take a particular flat, he will be asked 1,000 questions. Please get this, please get your security, please get this. So why don't we have that mechanism inbuilt in every bank itself? That to first, we are reaching a conclusion where actually it's gone ahead and it's gone out. Nothing is going to come out. But why release our money at first place as a deposit? as a depositor. I am not suggesting that we don't know good companies do a fraud later. It's like an independent director situation. We don't know tomorrow in 5 years a good company goes into toss and I'll say, how do I know? But I'm saying, why don't we stop it at the first go itself, or have a mechanism, as somebody was suggesting at the IBA, this thing. We have a mechanism that at this place, this is what is going to be given. Now, nobody has a rationale of why 90,000 or 80,000 crore was given to Videocon. There is no rationale. I'm sure that TVs are not a mortgage to be given. Neither there were ACs which were given. Neither there is any asset. We have no reason. We have absolute zero relevance in that aspect. But yes, here we will come to commercial wisdom to say that yes, there is a haircut, and we are then losing out to a particular thing. So why is that being considered? That was only my thought. And why is it? Because Anuj Jain clearly in one of the paras in Supreme Court in passing throws light upon the due diligence aspect from a bank, that they say you don't check your securities, then you come crying that it's a related party and the security is less. Then they don't have it both ways. And for me, if it's commercial wisdom of giving a loan, I think it's then commercial wisdom of reducing my loan. That is the same rationale and logic. Because I'm sure that if it's a 300,000 or 4,000 crore, I'm sure it goes to the MD and to the big people in the bank. It can't be through a normal. So it is the wisdom to give in. The same people have given the okay to go ahead to even accept that particular. So why that weightage is?
I agree with Mr. Mehra, his point, but you see the irony of whole the haircut is, these are the same bank, consortium and IBs, the banks who lends money and then goes to the IBC, and this even in the Supreme Court, Anuj the case is also the same situation. The same bank agrees for an haircut. In a 2 years time, in a 3 years time, there is an haircut coming in. So does it? What you say is right. There is a hand in glove with corporate and the bank. How can a bank lends money of 1,000 crore rupees, and when it goes to an IBC within 2 years, 3 years, haircut is of 100 crore? How have they valued assets and everything? This
Exactly.
is not the fraud. Therefore, I
Absolutely.
suggested there has to be some mechanism backed by the law. A criminal proceeding has to be initiated.
Exactly.
What happened in Arshad Mehta's case, everyone knows. All the bank officers and managers have been held up. They've been sent to the jail. What Mr. Mehra says, I've been in full agreement. But the irony is like this: you take ICICI Bank. I come across about 8 to 9 cases in where ICICI is a big lender. A lead lender. In all the cases, there is a haircut now. I can't go and tell the ICICI you have committed a fraud. It's a downright fraud whose pocket monies are gone. It is all distributed. This is what the suspect comes.
So, there's one point which Mr. Mehra raised about due diligence. So I think that's always there inbuilt in that system. When you're giving a loan, when any bank is giving a loan, infrastructure loan or whatever, there's a due diligence is conducted by them. But even if you see Vijay Mallya's case, when he first defaulted, he still went to the bank and he applied for fresh loans and he was granted. See, at that
The
stage,
rollover.
That's exactly my point.
Due diligence.
It's a rollover.
Due diligence is one part, but when there are so many audits are happening at various stages, there is statutory audit, internal audit in banks, there is concurrent audit. Then what
Sir, in
are you doing?
my view, assuming let's even take the Lalit Kumar judgment, why I'm stressing, and Miss Renu, why I'm stressing on the due diligence, yes, I agree that there is an inbuilt mechanism, but I'm sorry to say that mechanism is not working.
Agreed.
Even if it is there, it's not working.
It's
As I gave you a
agreed.
simple example that if I have to go today, or there is a layman who has to afford a 90 lakh home, which comes under so much schemes under the government, he will be asked 90 questions, and I can guarantee you here, he will be asked 90 questions, ITR plus all this. I agree.
Absolutely.
Now, what is the question of giving personal guarantees? In my view, even Lalit Kumar Jain's judgment does not even hold good, because that says, oh, sorry, you can continue taking money from the guarantors. But the question is, you are taking guarantee on a normal piece of paper, which is barely any times it is filled. Most of the sanction letters, most of the guarantees are filled for whatever worth. There is no enclosures given in that personal guarantees where, as on date, these are your assets, these are in your name. You can also have a mechanism like you see under the IBA personal guarantee rules. There is the form which clearly says which is held by wife, which is held by trust, which is held by a lot of people. but there is no mechanism there.
So just
They are
coming back,
just,
I
yeah,
absolutely, I've seen these diligences and I've been seen the way they conduct and all with and everything, the bank. So when you see, if you see like 9,000 crores is when Videocon defaults and then it receives 90,000. Between that state, there has to be one check-in where the
correct.
funds have to be stopped, and then the entire, everybody has to be checked, every single, there doesn't have to be a post-mortem. It has to be done precautionary measure. And that's where we need to, I think, again, take this up. If you're looking at amendments to the this laws, then
Yes.
there has
In
to be
fact,
somewhere before that. When
correct.
25,000 triggers off, everybody should know that a company like Videocon, what does it have to give you 25,000 crore back?
Absolutely. So then today coming in, we come in and arguing and saying, oh, and it's all over that the haircut is taken. But naturally, nobody wants to go in hindsight and say that 85 or 90% haircut. Again, I'm not at all suggesting what is there. It is harming, whether it is DHFL, whether it is there are small people who have lost their money. So of course, all that has to be taken into consideration. But why at the first place is that being done? I think that robust mechanism. So let's say there could be a cutoff limit that yes, 9,000 is what you have already taken. Sorry, either you deposit a 3,000 or a 5,000. You're only then going to get an equivalent. I think there are very good banks in this situation. You see, like let it be the HDFCs, let it be there are Kotaks. They will never fault on this particular aspect because their way of doing a particular work is very efficient. I mean, I don't want to name certain other banks, but these are the two who will know, and there is a foolproof mechanism which goes. I mean, I can even say in terms of some people who I know personally that even if it is 1 rupee on a credit card, is still being taken as an basis. They said, sorry, money is money. We want every penny to come inside the system, and they will not even waive off any of the charges. Now, of course, you have a settlement, and that's a different thing. But at this given point of time, when you're only saying you're rollovering a particular thing, I mean, at 9,000, one can always say that, sorry, this is how it has to be stopped.
So
We are not giving you a penny.
Yeah. So this
We
exactly takes
want
us
at least
to
50%.
one more. Yeah. So one more issue which you are raising in this is private banks, nationalized banks, foreign banks, cooperative banks, and so what will be the trigger stages in the different banks? So because when it's a private bank, obviously the due diligences and the way they operate will be different from nationalized banks, and most of these things that are happening in SBI, ICICI, we need to
Correct.
kind of then make suggestions. We are doing this brainstorming here. At least how do we put checks and balances in this kind of banks, because the data also actually public money. If LIC is lending, it's absolutely public money today.
Absolutely. See, in fact, I mean, that's another way of looking at it is how I would only relate it. It's like, it's just having, it's simply, let's put it in a normal bank. It's like we have a certain X amount of money at our bank account. We know that this is what I can spend on my food, what I will spend on this. I know if I go above this, I'm going to lose out everything. There has to be a same situation for the banks also, that the bank would say that this is the X amount. I am not in a position, because your asset value in that sense is not like, let me give an example of Bajaj. Bajaj again is a very good in that sense. The moment they have a security, they have a 2.528. We all say that they have that security, but they actually do this in practice. And coming to your question of having it, yes, I would say that there has to be a way out for all the banks to come together, and of course, being the bank and whether the RB and whether the finance ministry, that there has got to be checks and balances, and the ministry has to overlook this aspect. It cannot be only the banks doing a particular thing and PNB doing something else, SBI saying, sorry, we are not. You fall in line or you go out.
So on this, let me also give you one example, like say international banks. Now RBI has different rules for international banks and national banks. So and I know this because I had done an opinion work. One of the flats which was being under construction flats was, they do tie-ups. The builders will do tie-ups with different national banks, cooperative banks. So the purchaser went to an international bank. I think it was HSBC or something. So HSBC, although the project was approved by 4 other banks, said no to that because they had a title query which we were not able to satisfy. Okay, and then they said, no, we have this RBI regulations which apply to international banks, and their loan systems, the housing loan systems were much more attractive and, client friendly than what the other banks were having. But they said, although other banks have approved, we will not be able to do for 2 reasons, because you are not able to satisfy us on 2 or 3 title queries, and this is triggering of some RBI laws. Now, if this kind of checks and balances, what you're trying to say is also there in national banks, at some initial stage itself, this will fall apart, or at least the threshold will come down. And that's something everybody has to ponder about. And Jaideep's one presentation, one slide was very again interesting, I think, in DHL's case, where Piramal is offering to pay them upfront. See the last slide, last sentence, which says about 10,000, I mean, I don't know, 1,000 crores is going to be paid in bonds over a period of 10 years. So actually the cost of money and the inflation and the realization will be much less. That what they've approved in the haircut, I think 1,000 crores or something, we can see, go back to that slide and confirm. So that also is another, okay, what actually are you getting? Are you getting 1,000 crores today, or are you getting after 10 years?
And so sorry, one more to add on that. I think we are also forgetting where we are saying that why mute spectator is the NCLT. They're not taking criminal action. Yes, they should be doing. But will anybody go and ask this question to the promoters, to the delinquent promoters who today could not save their company? Please put it on their IT and on an affidavit before the Supreme Court or before any other courts, that where is this flow of money today coming in, or where they project this money to be coming in. I'm pretty sure that there will be no answer to this. Because if had it been the money would have been there, they could have come here. I don't think that there is an answer to this question. And whether let it be the great promoters who have always tried to come, they only want to derail the process and try to put it. Be that as it may, it's their own company, they want it. I get that. But then at that same time, and you rightly mentioned that if whether it is the DHFL, whether it is this, it is being paid at a particular point of time. But nobody will ask this question. Nobody will ask this question today to say, please just disclose all your last 7 years, what exactly and where exactly your money has been parked. And then that things will open up a lot of issues, which of course nobody will want it. I mean, end of the day, of course, the banks will want the money, but nobody is going to get to the root of the matter to say where exactly has your money. People will go home. It's a very good, no fraud, nothing. People have suffered. But today, nobody is going to get into the fraud aspect.
So that is
but in haircut, we want to get into the fraud aspect. But where the promoter wants to pay back, we will not ask him a single question.
I just add to Mr. Mehra's point that the affidavit has to be filed. You know, there are two glaring cases are there before the Supreme Court. Now, one is a JP Infra and another one Unitech. In both the cases, director has been asked, how have you collected the money and what money has been put? Large bank of land is there. Big land is there. What they have done? Nothing. Supreme Court has also exonerated them, saying that you pay 1,000 crore rupees or 2,000 crore rupees to JP Infra. Nothing has happened for last 2 years. Of course, leave aside the pandemic period. Prior to that, 2 years I am following the matter. Nothing has happened. Now, so this is all eyewash because the matter has gone from IBC. NCLT matter has gone there. These are the all problems we are facing in this.
No, I would agree, Mr.
And you take another check and balance. What happened to Lalit Modi and Mehul Choksi? Diamonds were done. Nothing.
Exactly, that is exactly where I was coming from. That
so check and balance ultimately done by the bank. If there is a hand in glove with the bankers, what will you do?
In fact, on a lighter note, there were people who were paid off, and celebrities have been paid off on fake diamonds. So even they are fighting their cases. So of course, they were not expected to go to a lawyer and do a diligence whether this.
Well, I have no mercy on them. I have no mercy on them. They have purchased with the open eyes. I'm not. I'm saying the public money. Public money.
Yes, absolutely.
The bank officers are not involved.
That is where the role of nominee directors and independent directors assumes great importance. What are they doing?
Nothing.
Every quarter board meeting is held.
But
and in the entire process, the worst sufferers are operational creditors, and many of them are SMEs and micro industries who themselves are facing insolvency because of non-payment.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, that was exactly the argument of Dr. Singhvi also before in that Hindustan judgment of arbitration. That is exactly his point. And he also raised this that today, if you don't ask for a deposit money under section 34 and 36 of arbitration, what you're doing is you're going to throw the operational creditors into insolvency. Then all this 2 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore MSMEs, nothing will stand because then there is no money to be given to them because the money is stuck. with this. In fact, the other argument is also with these institutionals where they challenge these awards and they don't deposit the money, and they are only challenging that particular thing. Even that is absolutely a loss. Today, why is Vodafone in loss? It's because of the wrongdoing of the retrospective so-called amendment which was done. So these are the things which actually require a wholesome, in at least in from I say IBC and banking perspective. I think this is at least my view is that this has to be stopped at the junction, not wait for the haircut.
I add one point. This is one of the most sophisticated way of writing off the amount by the bank.
Absolutely.
And this is a fraud. Writing off an amount, there is a provision under the Income Tax Act. You can't write off the amount beyond certain limits. Now, by haircut, they are taking an advantage under the haircut, writing off the amount straight away.
That's what I was saying, sir. No, that there has to be a threshold. You just can't be given 90%. You know, that's like it's like ridiculous. I mean,
Absolutely.
But then again, even that judgment of Maharashtra Seamless, sir, you may be aware that where even the Supreme Court, what Supreme Court said is that you don't go even. So what if it is before liquidation value? Then you should not have made that. Of course, the fact of the matter before Supreme Court was very clear that there is no regulation under the IBC which says you cannot give it less than liquidation value. That's also correct. There is no but then we should bring in that regulation to say that no, you cannot have this, and then X amount has to be given to an X. Of course, SR deals with a lot of aspects. It is my wisdom. I will give OC so much. I'll give tax. Tomorrow, let's look at even from the tax aspect. Let's say the government authorities also. If I have to argue for the government authority, I will say I'm in a complete loss in IBC because everything happens. All companies go. They say sorry, PML, you can't do anything. All stands crystallized. In the sense today, even if you do a rough calculation, there are 1,000 crores what the government has lost in GST, in your income tax return. So I think it's not only this one aspect. I'm saying it's a holistic, which every stakeholder should be getting a particular thing. Why not in the government is losing on a particular thing?
You are right.
I mean, we say clean slate.
Absolutely, Mr. Mehra, you are right. You take example, what we are looking for an haircut, losing the amount for the lenders.
Yes.
We are not adding to the other aspect what we have mentioned now, property tax, income tax, sales tax, GST, all these amount, if you consider, it will not be 8 lakhs crore, it will be more than 16 lakhs crore.
Absolutely. So why them?
Very, very much serious problem for the people, for the government. And in fact, that has destabilized the entire economy, I would say.
In fact, giving everything, not giving a leeway, of course, then one way to say that you have like how you have the tax saving and the Savdhan scheme where you say that, okay, you deposit. There has to be some way that, okay, you're going into IBC, you're doing it. Sorry, you got to make some provision. We will give you an OTS, no difficulty. We can give you an OTS, but this is the amount which is payable. Even if we have an amount to save is the principal and not adding to the interest component, I would say still we are a better chance and we at least will get some money from that particular thing. Today, we all know in the income tax also, you do not pay. It is actually liable to the directors, but nobody actually goes ahead and nobody takes their asset. It is only on paper to show that it is an asset and nothing eventually happens.
I just add to one point which you refer about the Supreme Court saying you can't go beyond the value of a winding up. But if you see what the Supreme Court's flip-flop, that even 93% haircut is accepted in the Supreme Court. So that means they are not considering their own views. They are also helpless now. I would put it as a helpless.
In my view, I think they should have a very strict an IBBI and with the consultation. I think how it should be like there are charter of responsibilities of an RP. There is charter of a COC. Ideally, everybody and a stakeholder should actually, this so-called commercial wisdom is only, I think it has become wisdom and it is in somewhere it has got lost. And actually, if I may put it that where is the commercial in this? So the simple reason is that you are only saying everything leaving to commercial wisdom. I agree. You should leave it. And that's how all the laws all over the world also deal with it. I don't think we have a difficulty there. But the difficulty is on what parameters are you going to decide, whether it's feasibility, whether it's viability, whether you are saying that you're going to take an X amount and you cannot go below this. Now take it or leave it. You want this. This is how you should be able to get it. But
I agree. There should be exceptional cases in which haircut be allowed. This has become a now rule, matter of a rule. Haircut has become a matter of a rule.
Right.
That is a very worrisome situation for us.
In fact, even the liquidation value and everything, I don't think that this so-called confidentiality, because I think the NCLT has raised issues and they have referred it to the IBI to say the confidentiality. And I don't think I have a doubt that this is what must have is also happened at a lot of things, that the values are being disclosed one way or the other. But there has got to be somewhere, there has got to be a transparency, and then to say that, sorry, you just put in what your bids are. Nothing is going to be disclosed upfront, and this is what you're going to get. And if we feel there is somebody to scrutinize a particular plan to say that no, this is not, then it is to be given and to say that yes, there is an X value, you can't go below this value, and sorry, you are rejected because your value is much lower than this. And we are not accepting because you're not claiming a 60% or a 40% of all the creditors claim. But again, it's a very subjective thing. It is not something, it's like a rule basis, and one can say I will get 50%. Because if I'm an RA, I will say I don't want the company, let it go into liquidation. If I'm not getting at 60%, it's like if I go outside and I get something at 50 rupees and the other shop gives me at 10 rupees, I will take 10 rupees. Of course, what suits my pocket, I'm saying 40 rupees. Same example of SR. Today, to make SR's plant, I think the valuation goes more than 1 lakh crore. But Mr. Mehta will say, I'm getting at a 50% discount. Why not?
Absolutely.
I don't want to pay you. I will pay 50,000. Take it or leave it.
Why
So the
take
banks
Reliance?
also, yeah,
Just example of a Reliance. It's a
correct.
very worrisome situation.
So what is the way forward, sir?
Yes, sir. So this one suggestion rather, say we realize is a systematic fraud where from at the time of giving loan, asset may be overvalued or some hand in glove loans are being given, then ultimately rupiya 5 paisa maline it gets settled. So it's a systematic. We need to go little deeper into the already decided case, can find out how many public bank where my money as a taxpayer goes, others are shareholder who are affected, creditors, other small creditor, other than banker, they are also affected, MSME and also see. So there will be, we need to do little detailed research where we need to find out, okay, these are the bank which most of time this kind of fraud is like ICICI Bank or SBI. So that will help us in giving our suggestion to the ministry why we are coming up with this suggestion, because of these are the reason, and this area or this big hole in a system needs to be plugged in at urgence. Otherwise what we are keep on discussing individual case where I get the same thread at the time of giving a loan overvalue. It's like a land bank, something which is a land parcel will value 1 lakh may be given a valuation of a 1 crore and loan being sanctioned. So they are like a systematic fraud where we need to give a concrete suggestion by already decided cases. That's what my suggestion. Otherwise, as a lawyer, we may earn, but as a system, it get collapsed.
Now let's take the example of bad bank also, which is already in the process.
Yes.
If you ask my immediate view, I think, sir, you will
It's
agree that it's not going to get anywhere.
I would say.
It's not going to get anywhere, because what simply the bank is going to do, take it over, like how used to happen in the ARC days.
It's a cleaning
Everything,
of a
take
balance
it
sheet, nothing
and
else.
pick it. Nothing
It's
else.
a cleaning of balance sheet. You are
You may
whatever is
do
bad on
whatever
your
you
bank, you
want,
are just
yes.
passing on to somebody. It's like again, it's a fraction of it's like a 20 paisa, 30 paisa, and passing the bad book to the bad bank. And that is like systematic. You will show your balance sheet good, but end of the day, if you are PSU, all PSU will be funded by whom? They will, government will fund that. They will pump the money, taxpayer money in that bank. So ultimately, I am affected as a taxpayer. My money goes to the run a bank which is doing systematic fraud. If I'm a shareholder of ICICI Bank, my money is getting affected. If I'm MSME, I'm taken for a ride because these big elephants are fighting, and I'm a small person get affected because of that. So it's a systematic fraud.
We also talk about independent directors when they have to come and sit, and we will blame them. Banks will blame them. Yes, you're a willful defaulter. You did not do this.
PSU
Do one
just
thing.
refer Indian Express of today and yesterday. All PUC who are there, they are either the any political party affiliated person, they're ex government officer, IS officer, they are the one who is they are on a board also. So this is something, if you're looking, entire system is rotten in that sense. Who are there? Independent, are they really independent? Answer is no. They are coming with certain ideology. They are like, say, Justice Gogoi. Why is getting a Rajya Sabha? It's before is getting a he or everything. If you look at system, there is hand in glove. You
No,
can
I
take
think
any thread and there is connections.
see earlier the situation was like this. There was an RCL. The bank used to sell the NPA to many of these RCL companies. Now that thing has gone forgotten, I think, by the bank. So a haircut is the very easiest way to get rid of all these problems. RCL, you sell the
Everything is
asset,
clean.
RCL will sell in the market and recover the money, whatever the money they pay to the bank. Now that is forgotten now, totally. Then the bank is going straight away for haircut. That's the easiest and fastest way of get rid of this. They get rid of the officers who have committed a fraud. They get rid of the promoters who has committed a fraud. Finish.
So
All are exonerated.
even if we talk about pre-IBC regime, what did happen in DRTs?
Absolutely.
It's like big doors are open. Why they will go through window, which is there? They can dirty their clothes, na? Everything is getting cleaned by big doors is opened by the government. आओ जाओ बैंक को फंसाओ टैक्सपेयर का पैसा लेके जाओ. That's what it is system is.
Okay, but in
Sorry,
DRT
this is what.
in DRT also nothing happens. Still cases are going on 7 years, 8 years.
No, my appeal lasted for 15 years, for your information.
There's corruption at all levels. There's corruption from bank employees. There's corruption in the court. There's corruption from judges, from advocates. On all sides, there is corruption. We have many laws to counter all these things, but I believe it's just luck that sometimes, that particular law may take action against some corrupt person.
Correct.
But
And let's also look at the government.
if anyone gets punished, it's only out of luck.
Let's look at the aspect of commercializing all the banks and making it together as what the government had suggested. Because in my view, opening these so-called small state banks, then you lead to a situation that you have taken the money, you will defraud it, and the bank goes for a toss, economy goes for a toss. There is no question of, I think that is a very good move actually that started off where at least there is State Bank of Patiala and I don't know what Patiala at one end, and there are these small banks which will eventually add on to it. They are giving because they've got it. They are an arm of it. The idea is to get it together so that you know that it is under one system and there is one dirt to play with.
Yeah,
Instead of having the small dirts all around, ideally, it is everything should be within that. Instead of having X, Jhakari, and I don't know what all banks, every day you may get up and see that there is another small. You go there and it is very easy. You don't have to do anything. I mean, they will not even look at, they will not even understand what is due diligence, with all due respect. They will not even understand what is it, and they will go by possibly your name or a surname. And they'll say, yes, we have heard about you and we are getting it. But they don't realize that what is system is being hampered. And what is guarantee and what is this? As I said, personal guarantees are one thing which ideally should be on a 6-month, 8-month, yearly basis, has to be reviewed one by one. I'm assuming, and I'll agree with Ms. Renu, that there are diligence and the banks must be doing that. But then if they are doing it, but then there is no question of this coming back to it, then they can't invoke guarantees. Just by putting an invocation of guarantee, we are not going to get 32,000 crore from a gentleman. Not name few people, but you will not get that 32,000 crore. You're not going to get. Even if you get 3,200 crore, I think it's a big thing.
Correct. I agree. Jaideep bhai,
Yes, sir.
I think we should have borrowed some provisions from the Companies Act, the old one, and to incorporate it in IBC, which may have some kind of help to tap down this kind of fraud.
Let us this group make a representation to PMO.
No, we must do research and we suggest to the government
Yes.
that we can have this kind of an amendment to the law, bring it to the certain provision of a Companies Act post winding up, as Renu Ben has said, similar of that kind, like what OL was doing, the filing the company's affairs by the directors. All these various other provision can be added, not by OL, but some other way.
But government is also doing its work. For example, IBC In 5 years, I think it has already been amended 6 times. New provisions are coming to restrict promoters, existing promoters from backdoor entry. So many things are happening also.
So I would say it was a very premature thinking of drafting IBC. During those days, it was a premature.
It was a premature, we can say that.
Sir, with all due respect, Mr. Mankat, but that be the case, see the insolvency, this was hanging around for days. If you see the BLRC
I said
report,
that borrow the
it
certain
is,
provisions to strengthen
yeah,
to give the
but just
tooling.
I'll answer your question in terms of the fraud aspect, which is a very pertinent question, and I agree with you. But I think we should not be even looking to borrow certain provisions, because there are certain provisions within the IBC. But where the issue arises is this, and which is a major issue again, in my view, is where, especially in knowing judgments of the Delhi High Court in that Venus matter, where they say, sorry, 4366 has to be decided, otherwise it's gone till the resolution plan. But Delhi High Court do not understand this one aspect, that every NCLT is not running 11 to 5 with 50 members. They are running with a short amount of members, and end of the day, they are humans to complete a particular thing. So ideally, again, as I said, how I said in the commercial, instead of getting to the haircut, let's get to the root problem, which is lending. Same way, in that case, I would say that let's get to the root of the problem of appointment, which I think is already under the process, and Supreme Court has directed the ministry to take into the consideration and to get members. Because I feel that if the members are coming into the position and they're given powers to decide this particular application, there have been cases where the property or this has been disposed of. There are fraud applications. 66 is your example where there is a fraud which is taken place. So we may not want to import provisions, but what we need to do is we need to give them more teeth to that particular provision and ask them to comply with this now. Not the director saying, yes, I will take whatever 15 weeks to come back, I will do this, I will do that. No, power should be given on an immediate basis, and you should be able to have that, yes, you cannot, and this is what you have to give in.
No,
Let's say an on-account deposit.
I agree with your point, but see the intellectual level of these IBC members. I'll give example of an Anil Ambani, who is a guarantor in various loans, correct? Ultimately, what happens? Supreme Court has had to help. He's liable, not NCLT. NCLT has gone straight away. All directors should be held responsible and liable for this. Ultimately, Supreme Court has to help. Means you see the intellectual level of these people also. They should have thought they are coming from a background of a judiciary as well as for a finance. They ought to have been clicked to them. Nothing has happened. This is the problem. Now you go right up to Supreme Court, means what it takes, how much time it wasting. This is okay, the bank can afford. Private people can't go to this level. It is extremely difficult. I would say it is not possible at all.
Sorry to intervene, but since we are running out of time, so we'll have to.
Oh yeah, sure.
And with that, I request Ms. Renu to give her closing remarks for today.
Thank you, Niyati. A small word for Niyati. She's completed a chartered accountancy and is a master's of law in intellectual property rights. She's been practicing for past 8 years and is also teaching diploma students of the Siddharth Law College. And a very, very big thank you to our speaker today, Jaideep Mehta. And your slides were very, very, they were the right food for thought, and we had a brilliant brainstorming session. And I'm sure you've put in a lot of effort in doing all the research and bringing up the 4 points, which we, and this entire way, the way the discussions were held today. And for that also, big thank you to all the participants here, and particularly Mr. Paresh Bhai Mankad and Dikshat Mehra and Deepak Parma for taking part in this discussion and making it very fruitful. This entire thing has been brainstorming and child of Shruti. I think Shruti has switched off Shruti Desai. This group, Jury and Justice, was started by her. And this interactive sessions was also her brainchild. I think everyone knows her. She's an advocate, solicitor, mediator, and an author. And Jury and Justice, where we have many, many discussions on the group, and we also have offline meetings and chats and everything. And probably I can share 1 or 2 pictures showing that of our earlier
Great, great.
meetings that I don't know whether it's been shown, it's seen on the screen or not right now.
You can see.
Okay,
Good, good. Great.
so very quick. These are some pictures that we had taken earlier.
Pre-lockdown.
Yeah, I think Jaideepa is there in almost all the pics. And so probably what we can do is to, drop some of the pointers that we spoke today and then discuss them again offline and then probably see how we can take it forward. So with that, a very big thank you.
Just one, see, can we take it forward and give some suggestion to the ministry on the same? Because that's what we need to ideally, from then only it will make a sense of discussing it amongst us. Otherwise,
We should
problem will
prepare a
be there.
dossier. We must prepare a dossier to submit to ministry.
Yes, yes. Shruti madam is taking the lead.
Yeah, so I think, what we can do is take, this is the first of our meetings, and I think there we'll have many, many more discussions like this. And we can drop some pointers from here and then, take it again, have another round of discussion and then take it to the next level. So Shruti, I think you can lead us over there.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.